Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into this video on the Zenwara channel today. So today we're going to talk about the subject of Devas and Asuras and the war between the Devas and the Asuras. So I do invite you to look back at my previous videos on more information about the Vaitarani River, your experience of the Vaitarani River, which is essentially, there are four stages to your life. Okay, there's your existence in this world here, the material world, which is the world where you develop your good stories and where you are essentially being judged. Okay, so you're being judged based on all the stories. So you're being observed by God and all the systems. Everything's being recorded, and this is basically where all the actions that you will take are being judged to determine whether you can go to paradise, have a reincarnation, or go to hell at the end of your life. Okay, when you die, you will appear by the side of the Vaitarani River. You will emerge from the woods on the bank of the Vaitarani River, which is represented on Mount Kailash by the indentation in the center of the mountain, which goes from the bottom, passing Barar Shiva Baram, all the way to the top of the mountain, right, which is the river that Adira, the judge, goes up, right? Shiva Baram goes up and then comes back down, right? Okay, so that's the concept of the avatar of God. Okay, the creator of the Kala Chakra, the creator of this all. Okay, to talk about Asuras and Devas, there's a war that exists between the Asuras and the Devas, and the reason for this war is that the Devas are light beings, okay, which are filled with the light of God, okay, the light of life, and the Asura beings are filled with darkness, okay, with craving, absence of light, essentially. Okay, so darkness. So visualize glowing golden light in the devas of God, and the asuras visualize darkness, which craves that light to grow and develop as an asura as well, right? So the more an asura, the more devas they've consumed, for example, the more they grow in power, right? So in that sense, they are also the asuras and the Rakshasas and the demonic beings delight in corrupting devas, right? And they can even turn devas into asuras, right? Which is emptying them of all their light, sucking all their light of them, and then doing that process to convert them into a being of darkness. And at that point, they become the rung bottom demon, if you will, demonic being in the hierarchy of Asuras and Rakshasas and demonic beings in that realm, which exists by the side of the Vaitarani River. So that's why there's a war between Devas and Asuras that we can find about in our texts and all these things. And what's harder to understand sometimes is that sentient, intelligent beings here that exist in this creation here, the ones that are being judged, the one that will have that potential to go to heaven, to go to paradise when they pass God's judgment, submit to the judgment of God with belief and acceptance, right? Those beings are the Devas. Right, so for those that wander the Vaitarani River realm, when you die, that's the second realm. So you have your first realm here. This is where you're being judged. The second realm is your preliminary realm of the judgment. Okay, so it's the realm that leads your judgment. You died here, but you're actually still being judged on your actions there. So it's important to remember that. And that's where you appear the Vaitarani River. You wander. You can either take the Bridge of God if you find it, or you might end up in the realm of the non-believers to get chopped, right? Or you might end up trying to cross the Vaitarani River by yourselves, seeing that that's a terrible mistake because it's not about crossing the Vaitarani River, it's about taking the Bridge of God. Or you might jump into the river if that's what your culture does, and at that point you basically return to your initial state. You're dissolved in that sense, and you're up for either reincarnation after the judgment of God or going to hell. Okay, but it's by taking the Bridge of God, the bridge with the heart and the wavy line within it, right? Even that symbol is hard to see. They're the one that's guarded by those angels that are in disguise, if you will, the bridge by the Archangel of Death and the other angels. That's the bridge that brings you to the different paradise realms, including the realms of the Buddhas, the realms of Hinduism, paradise, and the realm of the paradise with all the angels and the enlightened ones and all this. Okay, so that's when you're ready for that stage of your life, when you make the right decisions and when you have the right stories to get you across the bridge. So the Devas have this possibility that's granted them by God to go to paradise. The Asuras and the Rakshasas and the demonic beings, they have their own realm, and where they exist is they actually exist in that realm, in that second realm of judgment. They stay there. That's where they exist. and they don't have the possibility for moving on from there, because they are, in a sense, you would determine what you would call evil beings, an evil society. Okay, so they have their own hierarchy, they do their own things, but it's an evil place. Okay, and what they want to do is they want to trick you when you die and you go into that realm, to go into their territory and their territories. And because the Rakshasas have illusion magic, they make it look like paradise and they trick you. And when you get in there, they show you around, you cross in the bridge, you're greeted by what seems like a wonderful angelic being, angel, whatever, they even identify himself as an angel, but these are demonic beings. Okay, this is not the real paradise of God. So refer to my previous videos on the Vaitarani River for more information about what you need to know before you die and go to the Vaitarani River. Your third stage is the stage of judgment. So it's your actual judgment, the moment of your judgment. So whether that be at the end of all things, the judgment of God, judgment day, or whether that be individual judgments before judgment day happens, right? For individual people. So that would mean taking the bridge of God or jumping into the river, right? And being judged at that point by God. That's your third stage of life. And then your fourth stage of life is what happens after your judgment. So it's basically the decision of your judgment, whether that be going to paradise if you took that path, or reincarnation, or hell. Okay, so those are your 4 cycles of existence. Okay, your world of judgment here, where you develop all your stories and all that. Your second world of judgment, which is your preliminary world to the judgment itself. Okay, then you have the judgment, then you have the after judgment. Those are your 4 stages of life. Now, the Asuras, they crave the light of the Devas, okay? What they want to do is they want to basically suck all the light of the Devas, and they take a gleeful pleasure. They laugh and cackle and laugh, and they're horrible. But they are what they are, right? They have their purpose in life, okay? And they basically grow in that way in their society as well, you know? So they do their things in that sense as well, okay? Some important things to do. I've got some notes here. The Asuras, they influence society at our level as well, okay? And what they do is they basically use Asura Prakriti. They influence society, and the purpose why they apply their influence to this realm here is because they want to manipulate people to going to their realm when they die, so that they fall into their clutches and they'll put their claws in you and drain you of your energy. So their goal, the Asura Prakriti, is to acclimatize you to their type of life, so that when you get there, you'll feel more comfortable and you'll say, yes, this is my place and I choose to stay here. And then they have you forever, and then they corrupt you and potentially transform you into an Asura eventually, but just basically destroy you and drain your life energy from you and take pleasure in it. It's horrible. Okay, so for example, when you look at our society here, concepts that are direct applications of Asura Prakriti, concepts like inflation, okay, the concepts around there, in money inflation, that prices go up at the stores and all that, but that salaries don't necessarily go up, right? Or that people can't keep up and people get left behind, and that people get poorer and poorer and the rich get richer and richer. And all these concepts of society, these are Asura Prakriti. So they put these in place so that when you die, and if you get lured into their realm, the Vaitarani River, okay, instead of going to your judgment of God, okay, you stay in the in-between, if you will. Well, at that point, you know, when you get to their society, they'll, you know, if it looks great to you and all that, if you stumble in there and they convince you it's paradise and all these things, and for you, they'll tell you, oh, we have a financial system, right? We have money systems, stores, all this thing. We'll give you money when you start here to get you started, and after that, you can figure it out and all that. Right? And all these things, so that when they tell you all these things, it'll seem familiar to you, because the world from which you come, you have memory of this world. When you get to the Vaitarani River, you had concepts such as money and all that. And then when you're in that realm too, if you decide you stay in their realm because you think it's a real paradise or something like that, you don't know. They don't tell you they're the Asuras and the Rakshasas and all that. They think it's paradise. Well, then if you say, oh, I belong there, then they'll give you a card and they say, this is your money on your card. You got the stores here. Suddenly you start going to the stores, and every time you go back to the store, you realize the prices have gone up and that you're not making any money, and that you got to find a job in paradise to sustain your food, your place where you stay with a roof and all these things. right? It's another concept here on earth. You're born onto this earth here, and instead of society saying, here's your roof, here's your all your resources you need to eat and all these things, welcome to our world and all this. No, it's actually, oh, by the way, now you need to work. Now you need to work for society. Now you need to work for us, for everybody who's here into this world in which you are, to be able to sustain yourself, to be able to have a roof over your head, to be able to have heat in winter, air conditioning in the summer, to be able to do renovations on your place. And if you get to where you own your own place, well, congratulations to you, but you still got to pay all the time to keep ownership of that place, taxes and all these things, or you lose ownership, so you get pulled into it. So this is all Asura Prakriti, right? If we were, and the Asura's greatest strength, right? And they influence all that, and they influence all this into our society so that we take that form, okay? The Asuras and the Rakshasas and all those beings that influence, okay? And they do that so that when you get to the Vaitarani River and you stumble and you get pulled into their realm of the demons, you see all these concepts, all these things where you have to work for them and all these things, right? And get indebted to them, the concept of debt, right? And all these things, right? Get indebted to them and then not being able to get out of debt, right? And the debt interest, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and all this will happen to you at that realm as well. So they have you in their clutches and you can never get out of it. Right, so that's the Asura Prakriti, and they influence society here so that all these things happen, and the poor get poorer, and the rich get richer, and this cycle of suffering in society, poverty, disease, all these things, so that when you get there, you're used to these concepts, so you're more easily acclimatized to their realm, and it's easier for them to trap you into saying that you belong there and that you'll stay there, and for you to stay there. Okay, so that's the concept, and that's why there's a war between the Asuras and the Devas, because they feed on the light of the Devas, but they have to attract the Devas to them so that they can basically feed on them, because there are certain rules that are set out by God. So it's a little bit like the buyer beware thing, right? And at that time, that's why you get the avatar, the Sadguru, the Buddha, the Shri that comes and tells you these truths, right? So that those who seek the truth, the help is there for everyone who seeks help, right? The helping hand of the Katub, right? The helper. So that's why the Asuras and Devas are at war. Right? How do we fight that as Devas, right? As Devas, how do you fight that? Well, with sharing the truth of God and the truth of these things with everyone, because the greatest tool and asset of the Asuras is that the Devas don't know these things, okay? Because they lose their memories during their reincarnations. Their different reincarnations when they come back here, and they don't know in the first place, because the Asuras and the Rakshasas are very intelligent. They're very old, very powerful, some of them, and they totally have an organized society. So imagine fighting an organized force that it's extremely powerful, and you don't even know that they're against you. Ignorance is the greatest asset of the Asuras and the Rakshasas. So that's why we share the truth of these things. That's why we bring them to light. Okay, so that's why we do these things. That's why we talk about these things. I'm just checking my notes right here if there's anything else I want to say. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this video. Okay, so understanding that we are the Deva, light beings, the light of God, the beings that have life, the beings that are allowed a chance to go to paradise. And what they want to do, the Asuras, is they want to basically stop you from going to paradise, and they want to steal your life essence and grow on it, feed on it. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so it's very important to know these things, okay, because your life, well, I hope it's important to you, your eternal life, and what happens with it. And often, in some texts they talk about Devas as light beings, shining ones, and they think that that's not necessarily a human or something like that. No, you don't understand what shining one means. Shining one is not something you need to attain to. It's not the same thing as bringing in light through yoga. Well, okay, that that's a controversial comment. So basically, what you want to basically understand is that the sentient, intelligent beings that are infused with the light of God in this life, in this realm here, and who will go to the Vaitarani after river realm for judgment, that loka after, those are the Devas, okay? And the Asuras, okay, and the dark beings such as Rakshasas and all that feed off the light of the Devas, okay, they exist already at that realm, and that's where they stay, that's where they reside, have their residence and all that. They have huge cities and all that, territories behind their realm. Okay, so you have to understand that as a Deva, okay, let's say I'm going to just talk about humans for now, or other beings, you know, we have other species that are sentient, intelligent. You know, as these beings, you need to understand that you are, as a being, okay, craved by the Asuras, and what they want to do is they want to corrupt you. So what they want to do is they want to corrupt you here, right? And the purpose of corrupting you here, you might wonder, what's the purpose? Why do the Asuras corrupt us, right? Why do they do that? And the purpose is to make you think that it's normal, so that when you encounter them in their realm, right, you're going to think it's normal, and they'll pull you into their realm and drain you for everything you have and stop you from going to the paradise, which is your right, and which is your true place as a being that was created by God and who was gifted with eternal life in paradise, as long as they're a good being. Okay, so remember to be good people, but also strong people that are intelligent and share the truth of these things, that are aware also, and don't hesitate to reach out to those who can provide guidance on these matters when you need guidance on these matters. Thanks for listening.